Hey everybody, Mr. Cubby here. Welcome to your first day of e-learning. I'm excited. I hope you are. Uh, cool. Let's get right into it. All right, so we're going back to what we were doing on whenever that was, Wednesday, which was multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Okay. When you're doing this, there's a couple big things to remember. I think the biggest thing is factor. Okay, so factor. In other words, factor first. Okay. The biggest mistake that people make when they're doing these problems is they don't factor first. They start simplifying. They start crossing stuff off right right in the beginning. You got to factor first. Okay, it's all about factoring. Factor. The second thing you need to remember is just a math thing you need to remember, which is when you're dividing, you multiply by the reciprocal. That's that whole leave, change, flip thing you guys like to say. But sure, whatever. At least you remember. So factor first. And when you're seeing dividing, you multiply by the reciprocal. Okay. All right. I'm going to do 4 problems with you here. Then there's a couple of options there. First, I need you to do a quizzes that's on Schoology. The link's on Schoology. But if you want to first, you can do some practice at the end. So on the next sheet, I put some optional practice, and then I included answer keys for all that. Okay, so definitely do the quizzes. You have to do the quizzes. But if you want to do some additional practice, here's some as well. Okay, it's all about factoring. Ready? I'm going to go through 4 problems with you guys. This sheet is blank on Schoology, so you can print that off if you have a printer or copy on the problem, or you can just do it on a blank sheet with you. Cool? Ready? So this first one, you're like factor first. There's not really any factoring to do here. Okay, so that one doesn't, like, there is nothing to factor. But it is division. So I need to remember, take the second fraction, flip it. I'm going to push everything together into one fraction. Okay. And I can do some simplifying right now if you want. I could be like, boom, boom. That makes my life a little easier. I got 9b squared on top. I got 10b on bottom. Anything else I can do? Oh, yeah, well, I got a b on top and a b on bottom. Those are going to cancel, but since it was a squared on top, there's still going to be 1 left on top. And just a no b on bottom. And I'm done. Okay. So if there's just monomials, single terms, it's not going to be any factoring to do. But you can still use your exponent rules and all that stuff, like b squared divided by b is just b, that kind of stuff. And numbers divided. Okay. Those ones are easy. Second one's getting a little trickier. First thing, let's divide it again. So I'm going to take my second fraction, and I'm just going to flip it immediately so that I don't get messed up. So really, what they're asking me to do is completely equivalent to them asking this question originally. So it's a little sloppy. So I'm going to flip the second question, and I'm pretending like it's a multiplication question. When I'm doing this problem, I'm going to factor first. Factor. I'm going to go through each little part and see if it factors. Cool. Does this guy factor? No. That looks like it might factor. Okay, so I'm going to take that second guy there, say what multiplies a negative 28 and adds to 3. I'm going to think, use my brain and figure out it's positive 7 and negative 4. Okay. Look at the second fraction. I'm going to say, does this guy factor? Maybe. Let me think about it. What multiplies to 40 and adds to negative 14? If it's going to multiply to a positive and add to a negative, they must both be negative. So it's going to be, use my brain. Negative 10 and negative 4. That works. Okay. Use your calculator to help you with that process. Lastly, does this guy factor? No, it's just a binomial, it doesn't factor. No GCF. Cool. Now I'm here. Now I'm ready to cross stuff out. Again, it only crosses out if it's completely identical. So don't be like, oh, and those M's cross out. No. only if it's completely identical. What I'm left with is m minus 4 on top and an m plus 7 on the bottom, and that is my answer. Okay? I'll go through a couple more with you guys. Okay, this one's multiplying, nothing weird going on. I'm going to go around and see if stuff factors. So let's start with top left. Does top left factor? There's only two terms, but GCF. Don't forget about GCF. If you can take out a GCF, you should do it first. Okay, so immediately I'm going to say, wait. I can divide both of those. I can take out of both of those a 3 and an A. So I'm going to take out 3A. What am I left with? 2A minus 9. If you're confused about taking a GCF out, remember you're thinking about it as taking that red thing up here and dividing it by 3A. That's the way to think about it. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Bottom left. Oh no, this is going to be a bad one. Okay, this is that harder type of factoring. It's that split the middle business. I'll do the split the middle with you guys, even though I don't like to do it. Okay, I'm going to do 5 times 1, and I'm going to get 5. I'm going to say what multiplies to 5 and adds to negative 6. Multiplies to 5 and adds to negative 6. Negative 5 and negative 1. I'm going to split the middle. What you guys call it that. Once I split the middle, I'm going to group that together, red together and blue together. And out of the red, I'm going to say, what's the greatest common factor? 5A. When I look at the blue, and there's nothing to take out, I'm going to take out a negative 1, though. Throw it all back together. 5A minus 1 and A minus 1. That's it. Okay. If you have a quicker way to do that, that's totally fine. Back when I was learning math, they didn't have split the middle. Back when I was learning math, we had like snow days and stuff. We had to stay home from school. They just mail you math problems. You just get a letter and have like 25 math problems. You guys are lucky to get videos and stuff. All right, moving on. Top right, GCF. I could take an 8 out of both of those. Take an 8 out. What am I left with? 5A minus 1. Oh, that's kind of coincidental. Look at the bottom left. What can I take out of both of those? Again, you got to make sure that you take out the greatest common factor, not just a common factor. Oh, and I can actually take out no, just 8. Cool. I factored everything, and now I can start crossing stuff off. Boom, 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 and I'm done. Okay. What I'm left with on top is a 3A. What I'm left with on the bottom is an A minus 1. Cool. And that's my answer. All right, last one. Okay. It's dividing, so I'm going to flip the second fraction, but I'm going to kind of do this one all in one because we're getting better at this. I'm going to look at the top left, and I'm going to take a GCF out, 56. Bottom left, it's just a monomial, so I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. Take the second fraction, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to take a GCF out at the same time. So I'm going to flip it. The 3x plus 9 is going to go on the top, and the GCF is going to be 3. Okay. Then I'm looking at this guy, and this guy's on the bottom now, and I'm trying to factor that. When you're trying to factor that, I think it's doing weird. First thing to do before you panic is think GCF. Is there something I can take out of all 3 of those? And in this case, there's a really good GCF. I'm going to kind of go over here and do this to the side because it's a hard part. If you want to do that, that's totally a good thing to do. Come over to the side. Because you want to make sure you do that right, okay? So to take a 21, actually you can take a 21 out of every term. Again, when you're thinking like, oh, taking a GCF out is just annoying, well, it kind of is, but it makes factoring just way easier, and you're going to get the problem wrong if you don't. But it makes factoring way easier because look, now this inside part is much easier to factor. Still going to have the 21 out there, but now I'm just going to say, hey, what multiplies to negative 3 and adds to 2? 3 and -1. I'm going to grab that whole green guy there, and I'm going to toss it back up here. Let me just forewarn you right now, it's possible that you have a quadratic part like that blue part, and it just doesn't factor. If that happens, you just leave it. Okay, so like it's possible it just doesn't factor. But in this case, everything's been factoring nicely. Got it all factored. I'm ready to roll. You're going to be a little careful. I have said a lot of numbers left. Remember when you're like the numbers, like if you look at this, you're like, oh, it's a fraction that I can simplify. 3/21 is 1/7. Okay, so you can simplify the fractions. So like I'm going to replace that with a 1 on top and a 7 on bottom. Oh, 56/16. I can divide them both by 8. 56 divided by 8 is 7. 16 divided by 8 is 2. And now you're kind of like right here. And this one's going to require another step, you can see, because they're like, oh, well, now I have a 7 on top and a 7 on bottom. Then you can kind of bring it home. Okay. Last thing we're left with is just nothing on top, meaning a 1 on top. And on bottom, you have a 2x cubed. And that's your final answer. All right. Okay. So go and do the quizzes for sure. And then there's an optional practice on the next page of this, and there's an answer key attached. Do some practice with this. This is important. You guys can do this. And remember to check Schoology because I'm available for a Google Hangout today. And that is at 1:30 today. Let me check the time really quick. Yeah, from 1:30 to 2. And you can find more information about that on Schoology. Cool. You can come and just ask a question and say like, hey, I'm doing all right and stuff like that. I'll be there to answer questions. And while I have you, last thing real quick, I just want to make sure we're all good with the Schoology stuff. So I'll take you around Schoology real quick. If you go to Schoology, got this e-learning folder. The most important thing is this remote e-learning calendar. So if you click that, it's got the plan for this week, and I'll have one for next week as well. This kind of has the plan, the expectations, and it's got the calendar about everything that we're going to do. Cool. If you go back to that e-learning folder, though, there's other information there. Mr. Mergel is holding MRC hours via Google Hangout. There's this Google Hangout information and hours thing here, which we can look at really quick. And then there's also just this open question form where you can just like post a question and I'll help you with it. Okay. The Google Hangout information thing has the hours that I'll be available, and I'll post a link that you can just click and video chat in. If you don't want to like video chat, you don't have to. You can just like go in there with your camera off and just like type a question, and I can just like share my screen and do it. So it doesn't have to be a whole thing like that. If you just want to like see me do an example for you in real life, you can definitely use it for that too. Last thing, I put a fun things folder down here. So that's where we'll do what went down, who did what, words of wisdom, trivia Tuesday, all that good stuff. So that's optional, of course, but feel free to do that. It's fun. You know, you guys are at home and don't have a lot to do. All right, that concludes this video. Thank you for watching, and I will be in touch.